Everybody, George Moorhead, Bentley Properties. Today, the final session on buying foreclosures and some additional places to get some information and alternatives to consider, right? So when you have a chance, hit your big wow button up there for me. Make sure that you can hear me, and that if you have any questions, put them up in the upper right hand corner. If you like what you hear, give me a nice heart. Lets us know, are we on the right track? Are we giving you information that you find valuable? And that's really all this is about. There's no selling in this. It's just what is of value to you. What can we answer for you? Which is also up here, if you would. This is basically our request info and info line. You're not going to talk to anybody, but this way at least you can get your questions asked. You can just do a simple text if it's easy enough. You can say, hey, where did you say I could find foreclosures online? And we'll just fire it back to you. Simple enough. Again, 206-496-0545. It's just an information line. And this way you can also get some information back relatively quick. We'll give you a couple of keywords, which will send you some reports. So we had a couple of requests for, the investor report, the investor inspection. If you want those, just ping us and we'll fire those out to you. That's simple enough, no strings attached, all right? Okay, so we had a couple of questions that came up, and a couple of folks, I guess it's on this side. George, what the heck is that pin? Okay, so that's a Rotary pin. For those of you, Rotary International, probably the most amazing organization I have been involved with since 1984, not only with education, eradicating polio, and now malaria, to $700–800 million in projects around the world, non-governmental, non-religion. So we have 32,000 clubs around the world, which is amazing when you think about it. All about education, feeding, the people, and making sure that we're able to stop diseases. And it's just amazing. If you want to know more, let me know. If you want to go to Rotary meeting with me, Thursdays at noon at the Hyatt, let me know. There's no cost, no obligation. Plus, you get lunch, and you have to eat lunch, right? All right. So the other thing is, people said, George, you only deal with foreclosures, and I thought, no, we're here to give you information. See, I have a team of 8, and so we can provide a lot of services. So yes, we do the traditional buying and selling with clients. However, we also work on the multifamily side. We do foreclosures. We also have a commercial side, and we all work together, and that's the benefit of having a team. And I have done each and every one of those and own commercial and multifamily buildings, and therefore can provide some greater insights, all right, which will be some classes down the road here. So there, hopefully that answered the question. Let's get on with things today. Now, first, everybody's saying, oh my gosh, George, the feds dropped their rates again. And of course, they start laughing, right? Because it has nothing to do with mortgages. It has to do with your car loan, your credit cards. It has to do with HELOC. So if you have a second mortgage and the courts would adjust, well, it's going to head in a downward trend, which is going to be kind of nice. Now, yes, believe it or not, the Fed's lowering rate can create an increase in actually mortgage rates with your first mortgage, okay? Those are actually based off the U.S. Treasury notes and bonds. So those are the rates that you need to watch. And that is based on investor trust and what the market is doing. And so that's a different conversation. If you want to delve more into that, if you say, hey, George, tell me more how that works, send me a note. If you guys want us to do a full session on how do interest rates adjust, who controls those interest rates, fire that off. Just let me know. If there's a subject you want to do, fire it off, let us know. Text 206-496-0545. Let us know what you want to hear. Simple enough? Perfect. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about foreclosure auctions and kind of what happens. All right. So the first thing to understand with foreclosures, okay, when you go down to a trustee sale, this is the funniest thing ever. If they still have them down, say, let's take King County, for example. Snohomish County is on the steps many times. King County, if you've been to the King County Courthouse, there's an outdoor, and then there's probably, I don't know, it's about 15 feet And then you have this inside door, right? So it's like two doors, and there's this common area in between. Kid you not. People walk up, hold up a piece of paper, and they'll just start reading the case between blah, 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 and then they start going through the trustee sale. They don't announce it. They don't do anything. They don't say anybody here for the so-and-so, trustee sale. They don't say that. They just start reading. They have every expectation that you're going to know this. Some trustees, which are law firms in almost all cases, I guess, they will have them at their office, okay, depending on, what they're expecting, okay? So make sure that you understand where the trustee sale is being held. It may not necessarily be down at the county. Now, they are almost always on a Friday. There is an occasional exception to that, but for the most part, they're always on a Friday. Here's the key thing to understand about when you go down to a trustee sale. It is entirely possible that you're going to get down there. This guy's going to start reading, the foreclosure with the subject property app, blah, 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 is postponed. And then they leave. That's it. That's all you're going to get. So make sure that you're looking either at the trustee's website, which many of them have. Make sure that you're looking or make a phone call. They have many times an information line. You got to take a look at what's actually going to happen. Because if in the 9th hour they sell the property, or they're in the process and the bank is going to basically push it out a week, and normally they'll push them out 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks, but most of the time a week at a time. And if the borrower's legitimately got a sale and the bank knows that, hey, they're going to sell it, we're going to make more money than the potential issue at an auction. Okay, plus they don't want it back. The goal of banks is not to take back property. They do not want assets. Okay, it does go against their bottom line. They have to discharge 1% per month. It's just not very pleasant. All right, so they don't want them. They could have filed bankruptcy. Okay, they may be in the process of the defaulting borrower law that we have in Washington State, where they need to push things off a tad bit. It just all depends. So just make sure that you understand. Make sure you get what we call a TSG, a trustee sale guarantee, beforehand, an updated one. Okay, yeah, it's probably going to cost you $20, $25. The cheapest insurance you will ever buy, because it's also going to give you a general outline of what is going to, what is being insured by the title company, because you're going to get a trustee's deed on this, and which you're not going to get the highest type of deed. You're going to get the lowest kind of deed, and that's a trustee's deed. All right. So understand that as you're going through to get that information up front, then you also need to know what the minimum bid is. So you have to have a cashier's check, and that cashier's check is going to be payable to the trustee and or yourself, so that you can get your money back. And you have to show proof of funds. You have to show them a valid trustee's deed for the minimum bid amount. Now, you might say, George, is that cash? That is cash. That is like cash, like in your bank has moved it out of your account into this little tiny piece of paper. Cash, right? Then you have 2 hours. You have 2 hours on the average, that once, if you are the winning bid, you're gonna get that property. You have 2 hours to pay the difference. Okay? Two hours. No forgiveness. Most cases, no forgiveness. They expect you to go from the trustee sale and either wire the funds and show them confirmation of wire. They want a cashier's check, paying the balance. They don't mess around. So make sure that you have cash. If you are getting your funds from some of the other sources that we talked about, Seattle Funding or not Verity, and just Joe Blank. But anyway, then you need to make sure that those guys are there and you're approved for whatever amount that you're bidding, or you can make up the difference. This way you can go in and make sure you meet that financial obligation. All right. Okay. So when you also do this, you have to understand that you've got to know your numbers. Do not get caught up in the auctioneering syndrome. That's why they do it. People, I can't tell you how many times, go in and overpay because, I just got to have it. No, make sure if your number when you go in and bid is, let's say it's let's just use a number of 180,000, okay, and you're going to increase your price, you know, some people do it by 500, some people will take a big jump, right? So let's say you're going to do it in $1,000 increments. Know your final price, your max price. Your max price might be, you know, 195, right? Stick to it. Absolutely stick to it. I've had people come back to me and say, oh, geez, George, man, I told myself I was going to stop at 195. Yeah, how much you buy it for? 225. And I'm like, that wasn't very smart. We'll start laughing, right? Because they get caught up in the auction. Don't do that. If this is your number, this is when you're making a business decision. When you're at the auction, you're making an emotional decision. Don't do that, right? Okay, now, the other options to consider, okay? You can take a look at a pre-foreclosure, all right? That means that you have the notice of default that has already gone out, which is 30 days, which is not public. Then we have what's called the notice of trustee sale, right? We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The notice of trustee sale typically is a 90-day timeline, and they have, you know, I believe they can go up to 120 days, you know, or 180 days total for this process. And you just have to understand that as the banks are going through this process, they're hoping that a seller will either reaffirm, they'll pay up the arrears and whatnot, or that they will, you know, be able to sell the property and whatnot. And they just have this hope. Again, they don't want the property. So you can go ahead and approach a potential seller with the, hey, I would like to buy your home. Now, understand, you are not the only person that is knocking on their door, okay? Because we have been dealing with, you know, trustee sales and bankruptcies with banks for, well, 27 years. That's how I got into real estate originally. Understand that they receive volumes. When I say volumes, they will receive 5 to 15 pieces of mail every single day. Some of them pretty compelling. Some of them are just embarrassing. Don't write an embarrassing letter. You know, put some thought into it. If you're going to go up and knock on the door, because excuse me, I have been at a client's house and I've been walking them through the steps and whatnot. We have had people knock on the door, and just unbelievable what people say sometimes. These people have feelings too, and you know what? You get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Be respectful, okay? Make sure that you understand, because if you want to work with them, then you need to be respectful. Now understand, with our market being one of the 5 sweet spots across the United States, banks aren't discounting, and sellers' mindsets are that they're really not discounting. So, you know, at least at this point on a pre-foreclosure, yes, you're not going to have typically the volumes of competition that you'll see down at the courthouse if it ends up getting that far. Only about 1 to 3% are actually worth buying down there. The others are all over encumbered, or you're buying seconds. They file bankruptcy, all the variety of different stories, right? So when you're there, make sure that you understand clearly that they are probably not going to discount as far as you want, but at least you can see the inside of the home, which may offset your perception of what that might be, or it might even be a better option. You know, you might say, well, you know, yeah, I'm going to be paying more, but there's a lot less to do. In fact, I can turn this around a little bit faster and get some things done, and do it, you know, basically with a lot more protections and a lot, you know, a deed that is a lot safer to work with, other than a trustee's deed. All right. The other thing that you want to make sure is that when you look at a home like this and you're able to get in, you're able to do a better inspection. Okay, you can have a better idea. Whereas if you're buying something you sight unseen, again, people get bit. You know, if they can't afford their payment, don't think they're taking care of the house, because more than likely they're not. Now, there is the one-off. In fact, when I was working with what was at the time Washington Credit Union, we went into this house. You know, the husband was deceased, and we did everything we could to help him. The bank was phenomenal. oh my gosh, they just bent over backwards to really help this person out. And she finally says, look, there's nothing I can do about this. So they ended up doing what we call a friendly foreclosure. Sadly enough, they had to get rid of all of the liens. And when we went in, the house was spotless. It was absolutely amazing. That was probably my first year dealing with foreclosures and REOs and banks, and it was all downhill after that. I'm not downhill in the sense that the properties just aren't kept up very well. It is absolutely staggering. Got some amazing stories, and if you want to know, type in the keyword stories and it'll fire them off to you. Anyway, just kidding. All right, so let's talk about places that you can find foreclosures, right? So I'll get rid of this. All right, so my fancy new board, got a nice mic so you guys can hear me a little bit better, and we'll work on the changing of the screen there. My black shirt on a white background confuses the camera sometimes. All right, so places that you can look for pre-foreclosures and whatnot. So one of them, which seems very obvious, right, is foreclosure.com. There are a few other sites out there that do the same thing. That's probably one of the bigger ones, that you can take a look at. You can go to the Puget Sound Business Journal. I'll just stop it there since it's getting long. The other option that you can consider, because that's a nominal cost, and they update, and you get those there. The other option is a title company. Now you might say, George, well, what about a real estate broker? Okay, understand that if the property is federally insured, or at least under Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, FHA's HUD, same thing with, so you have VA and then you have USDA, right? Those have to go on the market. If they become an REO, they have to be listed by a real estate agent. They have to go on the market. What you're looking at in this circumstance are before they become an REO, when they are technically in the true notice of trustee sale process, or what we truly call a foreclosure, versus an REO, which is a bank-owned home. Okay, so here are three quick and easy. Hey, here you can go there to take a look at those. Now you might say, George, now you say there's not a lot of them and there's a lot of risk. Are there any other alternatives? Is there a different option for me? Sure. I think there's plenty of what I would consider alternate options. Can do this, makes it a little easier for me. Whoop. I gotta learn to spell, I guess. Okay, fixers. And that's actually a classification that a real estate broker can pull up for you. All right. A fixer, in which there are more of them, which may or may not be, a distressed home, can be a lot more effective. There's a lot more. Okay, I don't want this to sound bad. There could be a lot more people that don't take care of their home, or haven't taken care of their home, or they just can't take care of their home, whether it's age or finances, or they just don't have the skill sets, or some who just don't care. That you can go in and buy at a better price. You can do a complete inspection, and there's more of them. So that is an option to take a look at. Now, granted, again, in today's market, and with all the media and sensationalism of it's mayhem and bedlam and everything else, they may, or the price is what's going to really be the justification, and what can you do with it. So yes, like foreclosures, there's a lot more to look at, but at least these people have a little bit more sincerity. You can, there are certain classifications on the tax records as far as building condition. If you are interested, you can go in and do a tax search, based on that criteria. That's where a title company like First American Title, Chicago Title, they can help you out with that. There's going to be a nominal cost. The insurance commissioner does not allow them to give this for free, but it is a very small cost, which is the nice thing. Okay. So another thing that Another thing you can take a look at for investment properties. Okay. Stay in touch with agents. All right. These guys, a lot of these guys will have, invariably, you're going to go up and find a property that, hey, these people don't want to be on market. Like, we sell a lot of what we call off-market homes. These are sellers that do not want to be on the market, but they do want to sell their home. And they're in a variety of different conditions, from, absolutely stellar spot on to could really use some help. And so we have access to off-market homes. A real estate broker that is a true practitioner and a team will have access to off-market homes. And so that's a great avenue to take a look at, depending on, how many you want to turn every single month. All right. The key thing to understand here is homework. You need to make sure, just like at a trustee sale, you need to make sure that you've done your homework. Okay. That also means make sure you look at any city or county fees. We just ran into this just a little while ago, actually with two different clients. And, one of them, I think that it was the city of Seattle. I believe they had over $200,000 in fees because of property abatement. Okay, well, I guess there's another thing you could look at. Property abatement issues. All right, I was chatting with a person on Wednesday wanting to find a piece of property when we went ahead and took a look just to see if there were any county imposed fees, because there were some issues. There were $70,000 in fines. That's really what it is, and not a fee, it's a fine. Okay, and that's going to play into this. So make sure you do your homework. Make sure that you have your contractors list. Remember, you have access to the vetted contractors we already have. That means that these people actually are worth their salt. They will communicate. You get best pricing. Go to our site. If you don't remember it, text me. We'll send it to you. All right? Make sure you have your contractors list. Make sure that you understand all of your holding costs. Okay? You have to understand that. We are concluding all of the foreclosures and where to buy things and what to do. Guys, this is the nut of it. This is where people fall down. If they don't do their homework properly, they're going to fail. I promise you, and we see it all the time. Make sure you know when to sell and be conservative of that. Know how much you need to be to invest to do the paint, carpet, and vinyl. My favorite mantra: add 10% to it. Does it pencil out? Do you get the return that you're looking for? Okay. If you have questions, again, text us up here. There's no cost. Just let us know what you want to know. All right. So that covers everything that we wanted to. That concludes the foreclosures in the process. So there's 4 total videos walking you all the way through this process. We'll talk about buying multifamily as far as a rental property or a single family home. I do have permission from 3 different guys. We're going to do some during the week Facebook Live with these investors. We're going to have good stories. We're going to have sad stories. We've all experienced them, including myself. Okay? You just got to make sure that you do the best job as far as all your pre-homework before you do anything else. All right? So with that, if you have any questions, text us. Put questions up in the search bar. You can email me, whatever you want to do. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on a different session like next week in Chelan. I'll talk to you later. Take care.